turning digital platforms into sales engines.
I'm not sure, do we have everybody here today? I think we've got 2 out of the 3 panel. Is that correct? Okay, look, I'll introduce myself very quickly, and then I'll introduce you to our 2 panelists. My name is Conor O'Donovan. I'm an operator in Africa. Oh, here they are now. We weren't sure of the format. I'm an operator in Africa, and I'm also a partner in an M&A and investment firm called Tekkorp Capital. So I don't have a lot of experience on the Eurasian market, so the guys here can hopefully shed a lot of light on turning digital platforms into sales pipelines. I think we've all, as an operator, I think we've all had our fair share of underperforming, suboptimal campaigns. So I'm quite excited to hear what the guys have to say about it and how we can dial it up and perform better. Brand is one thing, tech is another, but unless you can acquire your customers and obviously hold on to them and make them spend, we're out of business. So with that, guys, over to you, Vladimir, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then Ben as well.
Yeah, sure. My name is Vladimir Klepikov, and I am industry manager in Google, basically specifically responding for many and different verticals. And one of them is basically digital entertainment, digital wagering. So happy to meet you guys. Thanks for the intro, Conor, and I'm really eager to answer the questions we have for today. Passing the mic on to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Ben Cove. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Logifuture. Now, Logifuture is quite a unique business within the digital wagering sector in that we live across both B2B and B2C. So we have our own proprietary platform, we have our own games, we have our own virtual games, but we also have proprietary responsibility for some large B2C brands as well, most notably in Africa and in Latin America as well.
Okay, great. I think to kick it off, I think the first question I want to ask is around customer profiles, so user profiles and so on. So, given, even different demographics and, you've got Gen Zs and you've got millennials and, so on. How do you, first of all, create your customer profile, user profile for targeting? Vladimir, if you take that, Joe.
Yeah, thanks you, Conor, for highlighting this question. It's a really important one from my perspective because by the end of the day, everything we are doing is for users, about users, or around users, and we can't exclude them from this equation for sure. So speaking of users, probably I will talk some obvious things, but from what I observe, from what I see from my experience, sometimes of them are omitted quite often. And it actually affects the effectiveness of your campaigns, effectiveness of your marketing, monetization, and even the product. I'll just bring a couple of examples if you don't mind. So first one, sometimes ago, we were dealt with a pretty big digital wagering brand, pretty well-known one. They have several apps, several applications, and they decided to target a slightly younger audience, basically Gen Z audience. And in case of Gen Z has but different patterns of consumptions, both in products and in marketing. And when we were strategizing, developing the marketing campaigns, we were targeting kind of more video formats, short video formats with influencers and so on and so forth. We launched the campaign, and the results were mixed. So, the first obvious answer to this question was your platform is doing not really good. You're bringing us the users which are not interested in our product, and we could stop here. But when you start digging deeper, you find out that there was something odd with the product itself. When we, all together with some third-party partners, start to analyze the user journey and what's happening with the specific users within the specific apps, we find out that the apps was not developed for Gen Z at all. So basically, what Gen Z are looking in the app is more of a personal stuff. And there was nothing about this. Transparent communications and interactions with developers. The Discord server was literally dead.
So sorry, just one quick question on that. So when you dug into that, that user, journey, was it all data-based, or was there interviewing of customers? And how did you do that?
Very good question. It was kind of mixed approach. It was interviews, kind of questionnaires, data, of course, from the apps, from the BI, from basically the system behind these apps. And we basically combining all of them and try to see what happened with the specific users, because the amount of installs was really good, but the revenue KPIs was not there. Okay. And we find out that users are simply kind of going out because there was no hooks for Gen Z users. So that was the kind of short answer to what's happened. So basically, the main caveat from here, always be on top of what are the users' profile. It's obvious stuff, but it's changing over time, and sometimes it's really hard to capture this moment when your user base starts to shifting. And sometimes kind of owners and the founders of business and even CMOs and marketers operating with the data of 2-3 years old, and it's absolutely not correct. You're wasting a lot of money and resources and, time for sure. Okay. So yeah, that's why I would like to emphasize this specifically. Be very mindful about your users. Be on top of their profiles. Use all possible tools and data. There are a lot of them, the open source, third party, who can help you with that. Even us, we also can help you at some point of time. So I feel free to take this conversation offline from anyone in the audience if you would like, guys.
Yeah, you seem to know.
Yeah. Sorry for being a bit wordy about
No. It's really interesting. So thank you.
Yeah.
Ben, do you have anything to add on that, or?
No, I would probably echo Vlad's thoughts there. Ultimately, younger audiences these days, they see a deeply personalized experience as a rite of passage. It's no longer a competitive advantage to have a deeply personalized offering. It's a competitive disadvantage not to have one. And that is how the landscape has changed. And so what feels now like an old adage of there are 500 million versions of Netflix to reflect the 500 million users of Netflix, every modern digitalized brand has to have that in place first and foremost before even going to market.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, it leads on to the next question. So everyone has to bring up AI. It has to be brought up. So how do we, introduce UI into that process, for targeting ads, for personalization? Like you said, 500,000 versions for 500,000 people. How do you integrate? What technologies or what processes around AI do you introduce for that? Ben, if you want to just kick off with that one, if that's okay?
Yeah, so firstly, I would say that in the digital wagering sector, we're quite blessed that there are a lot of very strong partner platforms to be able to facilitate that customer journey. So right at the top of the funnel, when you're looking to profile customers, all the way through to registration, to conversion, to repeat sales, to repeat business, and ultimately trying to drive users down to advocacy, there are a number of different partners and a number of different platforms that are leveraging AI and can be plugged into your ecosystem. And so our B2C offering, from a digital perspective, would lean on expertise and platforms outside of our tech stack to plug in and to be able to ensure that we're able to execute that deeply personalized experience on a one-by-one basis.
Yeah, sure, and that's absolutely important topic. Basically today, everywhere you poke a pin, there is AI embedded. I would say that in case of Google, Google is well known for investing a lot of efforts and resources into the AI-based products. And I think right now it's embedded on each and every part of the user journey in marketing, for example.
Are you losing the race, though?
Yeah, sometimes things happen.
Don't comment.
Sometimes things happen, sometimes you lose, sometimes you can't win all the day. Yeah, but speaking of AI specifically, that's what I'm saying. I think it's embedded right now in each and every step of user journey, starting from campaign itself. So our campaigns, they're using this AI technology to provide the most efficient return on the target you set. And even in creative production, we have a lot of tools which helps marketeers and the marketing teams simply to create pretty nice videos from image and a text prompt. So that helps a lot, and that saves, I would say, a lot of time for people there and a lot of efforts, and with getting really nice results. So for sure, AI is the future, and let's together see where it will lead us.
Yeah. So I'll ask the question on social media to you, Ben, if that's all right. So how does as part of the whole funnel and obviously retaining customers and so on, where does social media retargeting come into it all? How do you optimize that part of the process?
Yeah, I think the opportunity to retarget lapsed players or players that have potentially come into your ecosystem and fallen away before they've got to the sales stage is massively underplayed and underused by B2C brands and operators. What you're sitting on with social media platforms, for example, Meta, is not only the capacity and the facility to be able to retarget players based on user profiles, based on a very robust and a very developed program of user habits, who they follow, what their interests are, how regularly they're online. Not only that, but also the technology in the back end of these platforms to actually target on a hyper engaged level. And I think that where we've had a lot of success is not only focusing on prospecting and trying to drive new customers, but actually using these social platforms as an extension of our CRM program. So no longer just seeing CRM as an internal vehicle of we are communicating with our customers, but actually expanding it wider into the digital sphere, most notably through social media, to be able to tap into customers that have perhaps lapsed. And I think it's all the more relevant the more that markets become mature as well. Because in digital wagering, we're not talking about a single-use product suite. We're not talking about a mobile phone where you either have an iPhone or a Samsung, and once you've got it, that's your phone, right? We're talking about a landscape where the average consumer in mature markets can have an account with 4, 5, 6 different companies, right? And so the game in those mature markets becomes less about how can you find new customers, but more about how can you engage and re-engage your existing players who also have multiple accounts. So in that micro moment, why would they come to your brand versus another brand on the marketplace? And social media particularly, and Google, if I do say so myself, Vlad, he paid me for that. They provide a really robust engine with which to be able to achieve that.
Just two sentences here. I fully agree with Ben. So the social media, social networks, they have not just a lot of kind of data about users, because they know everything about users probably nowadays, despite the regulations happening. But also they have tools to re-engage with these users in the most efficient way as possible. Because for sure, we here talk about the product which lasts longer than a day or a week or a month. It could last here for years. And in this case, you definitely have to think how you can basically re-engage your users, which probably take away from you some time ago. And the social media here is absolutely integral part of this equation. Yeah, totally agree with what Ben said.
And obviously, it's an integral part of the re-engagement and retargeting and so on. But as an actual, just purely as an acquisition channel, so just advertising on social or using influencers or whatever needs to be, or whatever your approach is, how does it compare in your view to other marketing channels?
So I would say that social media is one of the strongest channels to prospect new customers, because through the back end of these portals, you know a lot about that customer. You're able to segment before they're even in your ecosystem. It also offers you the opportunity to push content to prospective customers when they're online, on the channels that they use the most, and in terms of hyper segmentation, even down to the days that they're more likely to actually make a transactional decision as well. So I would say from a push marketing perspective, social media, particularly for the anything millennial and below, is the strongest kind of suit of marketing opportunity. However, I would say that in a modern and progressive marketing strategy, search through Google particularly also has a huge part to play from a pull perspective, because you have often high levels of search intent, which can be indexed on a regional level, on a national level, sometimes on a state or city level. And that gives you, the propensity to tap into interest that's already there, which obviously drives high levels of conversion and hopefully high customer value as well.
Actually, and this is, I'm very unsure on this question I'm about to ask, but which, if you were to compare Google to a Meta, say, who would have a richer level of data on customers? Like, how do you make that choice between the two?
I mean, for me, it's really kind of hard to answer this question, being within Google. So probably.
Sorry, that was mean. I apologize.
Yeah. I think they complement. Yeah, for sure, there are some kind of overlaps, but in many cases, we see it as complement one to another. As Ben said, you can use search as a local and kind of geographical level precision, and you can use meta user level data for engagement and stuff. So there are many ways how you can combine this platform and even make them compete and get the best results out of there. So that's totally fine,
There's a very diplomatic answer from Vlad. I think what he really wanted to say is Google sits on a much richer data set, but yeah.
So Ben, you can answer. If you had $100 to spend, right, and you to Meta or Google, how would you split it?
Yeah, I think it has to be a blend of the two. As I say, the Meta console gives you the opportunity to push content to audiences.
You're both politicians, neither.
Yeah, no, but it's also the reality, right? The reality is I wouldn't put 100% into one or the other. Any responsible marketing decision would be
what
to
the mix
split.
would be rather than who would you choose?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the context of the market and things like that as well. But yeah, I mean, I would say probably. In certain emerging markets where there's a high level of search intent, it would probably index slightly in Google's favor, like 60-40. However, in more mature markets, where, as I was saying earlier, the game becomes about re-engaging, existing players and using the wider internet for your CRM ecosystem, you'd probably over-index on Meta.
Yeah, probably my answer won't be very genuine. It depends. It depends what kind of users you are looking for, what kind of product you are trying to kind of push or promote through this channel. So there could be a very different combinations and mix, and that's what I'm saying. You should try using all possible channels, not just Google and Meta. There are others on the market which are also great. So it depends on your aims and objectives, and I mean.
Yeah, the other nuance as well is within the Google backend, you also have access to YouTube, right? Which, in its own right, is one of the most powerful social platforms out there. So, whilst standard PPC and GDN may not push brand as effectively as social, YouTube certainly does. So it's all part of that same flow.
Okay. Guys, just to wrap up, very quickly, just in a few words, where do you think the market is going? To optimize that pipeline, where is it going to be in 5 years' time? How much will AI, have taken over? Will there be humans involved at all? Just a few words each, and then we'll just wrap up. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I think the AI will embed more and more into each and every step of the marketing, of kind of product development, and probably in 5 years we see some new ways and new conception and how you can tackle the specific users on specific market. So for sure, it's a big bet, not just in Google, but literally across the world. So definitely AI will be probably number one and probably the most buzzwords in the next 5 years. All the rest, I mean, let's see how will it go. It's really, everything changes literally on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I'm conscious of time, but just to say, AI is already playing a massive role in the channels that we've discussed today, right, in terms of helping us to profile and convert players. In terms of where the market is going, I believe that younger consumers, as they come through Gen Z and below, are going to be more hypersensitive to ads that don't mean anything to them. And so you'll see a greater index of people having ad blockers. And so from a brand perspective, the real area for improvement, I would say, is creating meaningful content that consumers actually want to be consuming,
Yeah, just one sentence here. I totally agree that in 5 years, Gen Z will be the main driver of literally everything. They became the biggest and most likely the wealthiest kind of generation, and definitely you should think about this now by developing your products in digital entertainment.
Okay, that's a scary world that Gen Z will be ruling, but anyway. Okay, guys, thank you. Ben, Vladimir, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you so much, Conor.